Good morning everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to do a bit of a different video because I want to do a little weekend reading vlog. This weekend my friend Claire from the channel Bemused Bookworm is hosting the Read It Short Readathon. This is a weekend long readathon all about reading short books, and I think this is the third round. We started in autumn, if I remember correctly, last year, then we did one in winter, and this is the spring version. And the kind of prompt or motto for this one is learning. So I will share with you my TBR for this weekend in a second. For now, I'm just gonna go ahead and have my Saturday breakfast, and then I will get ready, and then we can talk about the books I want to be reading. So one book I wanted to mention before we do that is my current audiobook. This is not a short book, so it's not technically for the readathon, but it's also currently the magical readathon. So I can't halt all of the things for magical readathon, unfortunately. So I will continue with this audiobook, and that is A Stage Set for Villains. This is a YA fantasy, but definitely an older YA. So I would even say more like a new adult book, probably without smut. We're following a main character who 10 years ago has been cursed by a player. Now in this world in the past there have been gods, but now the gods are gone, and basically when one god died, he created in a way these players. They have magical abilities because of a thing called the graft. And when our main character is a child and she's about to get a mark that will protect her from the craft, she is actually kind of attacked by a player that shows up randomly, and then she is cursed. So she basically has like a terminal illness, and her only way to get rid of it is to get close to the players and figure out whether there is a cure. And because of that, she ends up in kind of a competition. This book definitely is giving me Hunger Games vibes, even though the plot is like very, very different. But just the way the main character feels and kind of like the urgency and the pace of the book, so far I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm not that far in, I think I'm 17% in right now. So I will continue listening to this throughout the weekend, and I'll probably also make quite a good progress with that because today I will do all of my household chores as well. So I suspect during the weekend I can probably make around like 2 hours of progress at least in this audiobook. So yeah, for now I'm gonna have some breakfast. I'll probably watch a little Simsy video with it, then get ready, and then we'll talk again. So we're back and we are ready to talk about my TBR for this weekend. And to do that, I do have a little bit of an unboxing. But before we get into that book, which is going to be the first book I will start and my highest priority, I quickly want to go through the other books I have planned out to maybe read. So one of the things that would fit in really nicely with the readathon, I'm doing a little reread project for the Cheese Sweet Home series. I have to read volume 3 and 4 to catch up in April because I want to read one every month, and somehow I'm already one behind, which is kind of ridiculous because these are so short. This is a middle grade manga series where we follow a small cat called Chi, and she gets lost from her mother and siblings, and she gets adopted by a Japanese family, and we're following their journey, basically them getting used to having a cat and she getting used to not being with her siblings anymore. She doesn't really remember her past, so yeah, it is quite cute, and I want to reread volumes 3 and 4. I can fit both of these into Magical Readathon as well as extra credit, so that is quite lucky. Then for the whole learning prompt, a book that would fit really well is a German book I got for my birthday, and that is Nicht falsch, neurodivergent by Charlotte Suhr. This is a memoir style book about a woman who got diagnosed with, I think, autism and ADHD when she was already an adult, like almost 30 years old, and she is reflecting back on what that means for her life growing up. It is very short, so it would be perfect for this readathon. And then I have kind of like one extra book that I mentioned in my April TBR, but I'm not quite sure whether I actually want to read it now, because this would also fit very nicely in May for the Asian readathon. So this is just in case for some reason I breeze through all of these books and I still have a lot of weekend left. Now, the thing is, I have a cat hair on my face. The thing is, I really want to read this book. Like, I'm so excited to read this, and then I just keep pushing it back for myself. But yeah, at the latest in May. So this is The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Khaw. This is a horror novella where we follow a mermaid and a Blake doctor, and it has something to do with the mermaid's daughter, I think. Just the cover is stunning. I love this cover so much. So as I said, this might happen, might not happen. But now let's do the unboxing for my highest priority book for this weekend. Here's the box. I hate when that happens. So here we have it, Madonna in a Fur Coat by Sabahattin Ali. I haven't really heard about this book, but then I saw a couple of people read it and I got really intrigued. Now, I don't really know a lot about this one. The back says, the magical novel about a Turkish man who falls in love with an artist in 1920s Berlin, recreates a vanished era and dramatizes a doomed relationship with verve, depth, and poignancy. The result is a miniature masterpiece. That's one of the like praises of the book. So I think in this one, this is set in Turkey as well as in Berlin in the 1920s, and as it said in the back, it's about a relationship. I think that's very yearning-y. So a lot of yearning, what people enjoy right now. So yeah, I'm very excited to read this one. This is also on my Magical Readathon TBR. I found this scrolling through Goodreads and it piqued my interest, and I want to thank Esmay again, because it was her post about the book that got me interested. I will link her Bookstagram and Goodreads down below if you want to go check it out. Esmay always has the best recommendations, and my Magical Readathon TBR this semester is like really much based on Esmay's recommendations. So here we have the little stack of my TBR. We'll see how much of this I can actually read. I will start with Madonna in a Fur Coat, but before I can get reading, I have to do the weekend chores. So for now, I will go back to my audiobook. I listened to about 1-ish% while I was getting ready, but I'm going to get a lot more done now when I do all the cleaning, and then we will reconvene to finally start with the actual TBR. So I managed to finish all my cleaning and chores, and that usually means that now it is time for kitty cat cuddle. She hates it when I film, but she hates it even more if we're not cuddling. So I think we're gonna tuck in now and then start reading our first book. I made it about maybe like 11-12% in a stage set for villains. And yeah, things are definitely heating up. We just had a bit of a Katniss moment for sure, where our main character is volunteering for something. Not quite sure what yet, but yeah, she has some anger issues, and we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I think now that my beautiful little girl has joined me, I'm going to start reading Madonna in a Fur Coat. So I would really enjoy giving you some nicer updates, but as is the reality with like all of my weekends, I do still have a cat on my legs and I cannot move, which is, it's just what it is. But I am now halfway through my book. Let me put you down. Oh, that is such an unflattering angle. I will have to hold the book in front of me. Okay, I'm now halfway into Madonna in a fur coat, and this is quite an interesting experience so far, to be honest. So the thing is that this is very much described as a love story, but as we start out this book, we are following a character where I'm like not quite sure, like it's kind of like the narrator character. He is a young man and he is unemployed. He loses his job at a bank. And he has no luck finding a new job. This is in the 40s in Ankara. And so he is like really devastated and he feels very poorly about it, which I think is a very interesting look at this feeling of unemployment. And he really describes how with like all of his old friend, it like really changes the relationship as he's not seen as someone, you know, valuable for society anymore because he doesn't have a job. Look at this cutie. Look at her. Look at her. Oh my God. This is going to be the worst update because she's just so cute and she has been that cute for hours now. And it's like really, really hard to focus on anything else. However, that is how we start out the story with this guy. And then he describes how he meets an old school friend of his who is now working for this big corporation basically. And he gets him a job. And it's also described how like very belittling that whole experience is, but in the end our narrator character ends up in an office, in a shared office with this other guy, and this guy is kind of the main character of the story. So his name is Raif Effendi, which is kind of interesting because I just recently went to a very good Turkish restaurant that was called Effendi. So when I first read that name, I immediately started craving Turkish food, which is amazing. But our main character, Raif, and he is an older man as we meet him in this office. He is very strange, very distant from other people, and he doesn't really seem to be interested in making connections, but our main character kind of gets it into his head that he wants to get to know this guy. And so we are following kind of the buildup of their relationship and how they start to trust each other. And the thing about Raif is that he gets sick quite often, and then at one time he gets so sick that it might be the end of his life. And so now the cat is annoyed with me for talking and she's leaving so I can move my legs. Oh my God, I'll be right back. I'm so sorry, but I haven't been able to move my legs for over 3 hours now. So that was very nice. Okay, so at this point, he's like very, very poorly. And so he asks the narrator character whether he would go into his work desk and retrieve everything that's in there. And in there, he finds a notebook. And the Raif person, he wants him to burn the notebook, but instead he gets the permission to read it. And that is where the actual story starts. At that point, we're like, I don't know, 60 pages into the book, and you know, it's not that long of a book. So it took a while to get to the real story here. We are following Raif as a young man in the 1920s, and it talks about kind of the aftermath of the First World War and how he then was sent first to Istanbul and then later to Berlin by his father to like learn a trade or like learn something to make something of himself. That's kind of the whole setup. And while he is in Berlin, then something happens. And I feel like now I've explained to you pretty much like the first half of the book. So this mysterious woman that he has like feelings for in a way, she shows up almost halfway through the book. So be prepared for that. I always think it's like kind of interesting how, like, you know, classics are sometimes told where you're like, okay, it's a love story. So in a modern book, you would expect to like get the two love interests within the first couple of chapters probably. Here he's like, you know what, you can wait for 75 pages, you know what I mean? So I'm intrigued to read on in this one. I do like the writing style. I feel like it is a very like nice flow with the writing. I do appreciate that. And I am intrigued to see where it goes. I feel like the main character, there's some like gender stuff in there, in the sense that our main character has been told in his past that he should have been a girl, that because he is more shy and just not that straightforward, that is seen as more like womanly traits. And then the woman that enters the picture, she describes herself as more manly in a way. So there is some of that commentary as well. So yeah, I'm intrigued to continue on reading this. We'll see. We'll see how I end up liking it in the end. I'm not quite sure whether I will be able to finish it today because it is now 4:30. So there are definitely a couple more hours of reading that I can do, but probably not quite enough to finish it today. But we'll see. I'll check back in with you later. So I have 50 pages left of my book now, but it is also 6 in the evening. So I think I'm gonna do some cooking now so I don't have to go hungry. And I decided that I want to make some pizza buns. So it's a very, very short recipe. And yeah, we're just gonna make it now and then pop it in the oven, and then I can continue reading for a little longer. And when I have dinner, I am going to start my One Piece live action rewatch. I'm very excited. I had been like stuck on Bridgerton for a while now, but yeah, I'm very excited to get into One Piece again. I love the live action. It's great. So I have started my rewatch of One Piece and it is amazing. I love it so much. This show brings me so much joy. But now G is about to reveal the first familiar. I'm not quite sure yet what it's gonna be, but yeah, I'll watch that. And then my mum, for Easter, she makes Eierlikör, which is like kind of an eggnog situation in Germany. And so she makes it herself, and I still have some left. So I'm gonna enjoy a little bit of that. Cheers. So this will be my last check-in for tonight. It is now 9:30, and that is my usual kind of like, getting ready for bed time. I have about 40 pages left in Madonna in a fur coat, so I think I will finish that off tomorrow. I don't think I will stay awake long enough to finish it today. But that's completely fine. This is a classic, so I am very pleased with the progress that I have made. Also, I had so much fun rewatching that first episode of One Piece, and I can't wait to do the full rewatch and then get into season 2. It's so good. It's so good. It gives me so much joy. I love the live action. I think they did that so perfectly. It's everything. So, yeah, I will probably share with you some more clips, but then we'll see how tomorrow will go. I would say good morning, but it is already noon, and I'm sorry if I look a little bit worse for wear, but I'm starting to get a migraine from the lovely weather change that we had last night. So we had absolutely stunning, beautiful weather yesterday, and today we're back to basically fall weather. So yeah, that oftentimes is very hard for my brain. And so, yeah, I'm not feeling super great. But yeah, we did finally finish Madonna in a Fur Coat. And I decided to give this book 4 stars. This was definitely a very interesting novel, very different from what I expected. Now, I hadn't really heard a whole ton of things about it, and I didn't want to look into it more. But from what I had heard, I expected this to be way more of a tragic love story. And don't get me wrong, this is a tragic love story, but it is also something completely different in a way. And so, yeah, this was an interesting experience. The actual love story part takes up way less of the book than I had anticipated, and also the kind of tragic part. It was very easy for me to see where things were going, especially at some point where our main character has to return to his home. It was super super obvious where things were going. So yeah, I don't know, one thing I have to say about this book as well is that I hate the cover. I really don't like this. And so I looked it up last night. These are pictures by, I don't know how to say that in French, uh, John Leo Reutlinger. That would be how you would say it in German or something. I don't know how the French would pronounce that. Apart from that, those are pictures of the photographer with his girlfriend at the time, taken in the 1900, very early 1900s, before the 1920s. So this is literally two French people before the 1920s as a cover for a book that is about a romance in the 1920s between a Turkish person and a German person. And then also, like, none of the book takes part before the 1920s. What is this cover? It makes me, I don't know. I really don't like it. And I think they have chosen it for kind of the dynamic of the top picture where they're not kissing, and it's kind of like the guy is more like he seems more enamored, and the woman is looking towards the camera very confidently. And I can see how that would kind of fit the relationship that we look at here, but I don't like it. I'm so sorry. I have to rant about it a little bit. But yeah, apart from that, I think the introduction to this book is really great. It was written by David Selim Sayers. This person also works somewhere in France and seems to be like a academic person. The introduction was very great. It talks about, on the one hand, kind of the biography of the author and how much of this book might be autobiographical. It also talked about the political statements that might be in the story and how this book was often seen as the author's apolitical book, but that might not be true. And I thought it was very convincing, the points that were made in the introduction. And then it also talks about the gender aspects of the book and how this fit into the broader ideas about gender and sexuality also in the Ottoman Empire, which I thought was very interesting because I know absolutely nothing about it. But it makes sense if you consider kind of where it came from, that some of those views of marriage and sexuality, and especially young men, survived through all of those centuries is kind of interesting. It's definitely intriguing. And then it also talks about the introduction, about the relationship between these Western European countries and the fallen Ottoman Empire. And again, something I know nothing about. So it was very, very intriguing to read about that and to also see the reflections of that in the novel. So I think the introduction definitely made this book better after reading it. Like, my pure reading enjoyment probably would have been a 3.5 stars, but with the stuff that is mentioned in the introduction, I bumped it up to 4 stars. And I would definitely read more by this author because I think his other books are way more political, and he was imprisoned a lot for his political stance and all of that. So yeah, definitely an interesting person to check out more from. So we have finished the main read for the Read It Short Readathon, which I'm very happy about. This is the one book that is on my Magical Readathon TBR. So now all the other books I have as options here are not. So what I want to do next actually is do my little reread of Cheese Sweet Home Volume 3. I can count this as a reread for extra credit, but it won't work towards my calling for the Magical Readathon. And after that, I will decide whether I want to start this nonfiction. I think I want to do that about the neurodivergent woman. So I think that's the plan for now. I'll read a little bit more and then we'll probably have lunch. Today is also the birthday of a very special lady. So my cat is turning 11 today. Happy birthday, my Boozy, even though you're clearly not in the room anymore. As soon as I started filming, she was like, out of here. And yeah, she's turning 11. It's also our 3-year anniversary, so that's very exciting. I can't believe we have been living together for 3 years now, but it has been a great time, and I'm so glad she's here with me. And I hope you send your well wishes in the comments, because Her Royal Highness Boozy definitely deserves all the well wishes. So I finished that little reread of Chi. It was very sweet. I think this is one of my favorite volumes, volume 3, because this one does have a little bit more depth in the series. As I said, we follow this family who adopts a kitten they find, and they're not allowed to have a cat in their apartments. And so for the first couple of volumes, this is kind of like one point of issues that they have while they learn how to live with a small cat, and we see Chi go on all of these adventures. And now in this volume, it's like when things kind of start to get serious, where you see that yeah, maybe they think about giving Chi away so they can stay in their apartment. And so it's a little bit sad. I did cry a little bit as well, but yeah, it's a really good volume. And now it is lunchtime for me, and also for Her Royal Highness. Boozy completely abandoned me right now, so I think as soon as I get the treats out, she will be back. And yeah, then I'm gonna start the neurodivergent memoir. I'm very excited to read that one. It was a very thoughtful gift that one of my friends gave me, and so I'm very intrigued to read it. So I'm going to give you another update with the birthday girl right here with me. And I'm now halfway through this German memoir of a neurodivergent woman. And I'm enjoying my reading experience with this quite a bit. I'm having a very lively chat with my friend who gifted me this book. So that is lovely. She has read the book as well. And so, yeah, we're kind of like comparing notes a little bit and talking about some of the stuff in here. Yeah, I'm having a good time. Definitely some good moments, some harder moments reading this. I really like the approach the author takes with the mixture of like information, but then also her own experiences. I always like it when authors mix, scientific knowledge or just, describing certain concepts, certain terms, and then a little bit about their own, life and how they deal with things and such. So some of these things I feel very much, others I don't so much, because obviously, we're all individuals here. But yeah, so far I'm liking it, and I'm not quite sure whether I will be able to read the second half of this today. It is almost 6, so that means I will have to get into my evening routines soon, and then I also want to watch a little bit more of One Piece, so might not quite make it today, but then I'll just finish it off tomorrow and it will be fine. So yeah, I don't know if we will talk again today. Let's see. Probably like one more update. But I feel like, yesterday it was a lot more fun. I was not in pain. That always helps with filming videos. And that's the me in a little bit of pain. It's not too bad today, because I think it is just because of the weather. I have other triggers that can get much worse, but obviously, all the migraines are not great. So I'm gonna continue reading, cuddling with the birthday girl, and we'll see where that takes us. It is now 9:30 in the evening, which means that my weekend is pretty much at an end, and I will head to bed in a second. Just have to unload the dishwasher and then get ready, go to bed. And I did finish reading my book. I did finish reading Nicht falsch, neurodivergent. This is a memoir about a neurodivergent woman, and she talks about her diagnosis with ADHD as well as autism. And this was a lovely read. I had a good time, very glad I read it, very much based on the experiences of this woman. And she talks about how she just wants there to be, a voice, so you don't feel so alone if you have similar experiences. Now, I don't have like the exact experiences mentioned in this one, but especially some things mentioned about, getting your diagnosis and kind of the struggle with that, but then also the struggle with like capitalism and the workplace and all of that. It really resonated with me in a way. And it is kind of interesting because like when I had my last migraine, I was reading Disability Intimacy, so a very fitting read for a pain day. Now I'm reading this one on a pain day. I don't want to make this a trend though. I don't. So yeah, I thought I'd update you one last time for today. Then we can end this vlog actually on this Sunday. I don't have to come back tomorrow. Now I will read a couple minutes more in my audiobook, but I thought I'd just let you know the numbers now for this weekend. So yesterday, according to Storygraph, so this is basically an estimate of about the pages that I listened to in my audiobook. It's not completely accurate, but yesterday I managed to read 203 pages. I read most of Madonna in a Fur Coat and a little bit of my audiobook for that while I was cleaning. And then today I managed to read 387 pages so far. I will probably add 5 or 10 pages more in my audiobook when I get ready for bed and unload the dishwasher. But yeah, that meant that today I finished Madonna in a Fur Coat, which was a 4-star read for me, a very interesting classic with a little bit of a twist to it. Then I finished the manga Cheese Sweet Home Volume 3, which was lovely, and I also gave that one 4 stars. It's probably one of my favorite volumes in the series. And now I just finished Nicht falsch, neurodivergent, and I also gave that one 4 stars. Very interesting memoir indeed for the German speakers that are out there somewhere. So overall, I would say with like over 500, like almost 600 pages read this weekend. That was absolutely successful for me. I did one previous vlog for a Read It Short Readathon, which I can link down below. That one I took even more seriously because I tried to read for 24 hours in the 48-hour weekend. Never going to do that again, but if you want to watch it, I will link it down below. But yeah, I would call this a huge success. I had a tremendous amount of fun. As always, Cleo did some amazing sprints as well. So I would highly recommend you go check out her channel to subscribe so you won't miss the next round of Read It Short. That will happen at some point in July. And if you want to miss nothing about that, you can find Cleo's Discord on her channel as well and join up and chat there with us. I swear it's the best Discord you can find when it comes to books, and it is a really cool place. I love being part of that Discord a lot, so I highly recommend. But yeah, that's all I have for you. I hope you're doing well. I hope right now you are not in pain as I am, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.